So Crow Country is my kind of pet project. It was just a fun hobby project, and then it became a real full-size game. But basically, survival horror is my favorite genre, I would say. And I particularly love PlayStation 1 era stuff just because I'm that age. So I'm a big PlayStation 1 collector. I have a gigantic collection of PlayStation 1 games. If there's a weird, obscure, colorful, strange PlayStation 1 game, I've got it and I've probably completed it. But my favorite game to play is survival horror. You know, I like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Parasite Eve, Dino Crisis, all that stuff. And I just wanted to make my own because I love the genre. And to be cynical for 1 second, I'm not massively impressed with your average modern indie horror game. I find them to be a little bit dull. You get a lot of what I call flickering hallway simulators where nothing really happens. You just walk down a hallway and there's nothing, there's a light flickering and it's all first person and there's no mechanics. Anyway, so I, I sat down, this was more or less during lockdown and just started making my own survival horror game. And yeah, it just grew and grew until it was sort of accidentally a full size game. So it's a PlayStation 1 style third person survival horror game. It's set in 1990 specifically, and it's set in Atlanta, Georgia, in an abandoned theme park, kind of a cheap theme park. So don't think Disneyland, think of like a knockoff, you know, local theme park that's never had a good budget, and it's been closed for 2 years and it's falling apart. And you play as a young woman called Mara Forrest, who basically goes into the theme park to find the missing owner, Edward Crow. It's called Crow Country. The owner is Edward Crow. And he's kind of an elusive, mysterious man who has various rumors swirling around him. And the motivations for finding him are slightly mysterious as well, and there might be a twist or two, but it's kind of like, a mystery thriller. But gameplay wise, yes, you pick up ammo, yes, you shoot enemies, but largely the game is exploring, picking up inventory items and solving puzzles, inventory puzzles, you could say. So if you put the shooting aside, what you've got is the bones of an adventure game, pretty much. And there's even a mode called exploration mode, which just
I
completely removes the
I just
combat.
saw that. So sorry.
Yes. So there was a tweet I saw years ago, someone saying, I love Silent Hill, but I can't do the combat. Can someone mod the game to remove the monsters? I just want to be in Silent Hill. And I thought, that's such a nice notion. I'm going to make a horror game where that's possible. So if you just want to play this as an adventure game and not worry about getting killed and just walk around and solve puzzles, you can do that. And it's actually a pretty good game, even if you do that. So that's something for non-horror fans out there.
That's fantastic because now, I mean, I was interested already. I'm not good with survival. I like the genre, but I've played, I think, well, a little bit of the first Silent Hill game, which scared the crap out of
Sure.
me. But
Hmm.
but like that person said, I would love to play these games without the fear of dying.
Yeah.
I think you can still do it as effectively as a horror, but so it's great to hear that there is, the game that you're making is survival horror with shooting and survival there. But for adventure game fans in particular, people who don't want the stress of dying or being
Yeah.
killed, you have an exploration mode. So it is an adventure game then for people who want
Yeah.
to play it as. Oh,
Definitely.
fantastic! Wow, no, that's great. And so the puzzles then, because you say you had inventory puzzles. What can you tell us about these puzzles? Are they on the challenging side or medium, or how did you incorporate them into the game that you're making, Crow Country?
So if you look at like the original Resident Evil, what you've basically got is a kind of Metroidvania style unfolding map where most of the doors are locked, and then you slowly unlock them as you gain new keys and new items and new crests and whatever it is. So it's a game about basically it's like an inventory sequence in, you get you solve a puzzle, you get a bronze key that opens up two new rooms. One of those rooms might have a puzzle that gives you a crank handle, and then that crank handle opens up two new rooms. Maybe one of those rooms has a puzzle that gives you a gemstone. And the puzzles are very varied. Each one is kind of its own beast. And I would say they're quite cerebral, but generally it's not designed to be like an intense puzzle game
Mm.
experience. It's designed to be kind of just enjoyable. So it's probably somewhere in the middle, difficulty wise. And there are hint systems organically included in the game if you get stuck as
Okay, so
well.
again, if you like puzzles, there will be puzzles in this game, but there
Definitely,
are
yeah.
so okay. I mean, I wasn't expecting adventure gamers as such to really enjoy it because it's a survival horror game, but now it's gone full circle. It's like, wow, okay, so a survival horror game and a puzzle adventure game for people who want it to be. So, um,
Yep.
yeah, so Crow Country and the graphics, you mentioned PS1. They do look like PS1 in a good way. It's
Hmm.
that was this intentional, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so basically I just fiddled with shaders on the camera until I got an effect that felt like PlayStation 1. But what we've sort of ended up with something a bit unique. So a lot of PlayStation 1 style indie games go for a low poly look. But what we've ended up with is something that actually looks like pre-rendered backgrounds of, say, Final Fantasy VII or Resident Evil, where it would have been in the old days, it would have been a still image that you walk around. But in Crow Country, they kind of look like that in that they're quite ornate and textured and decorative. But in Crow Country, they're not a flat image, they are fully 3D. So it's this kind of duality of, oh, it feels like a pre-rendered background, but I can actually move the camera as well, which is kind of an exciting thing that I feel like is more or less our USP with Crow Country.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true because they don't have the as you said, the pixelated as such. It does looks PS1, but kind of like higher definition what PS1
Yeah,
graphics might look like. And oh well, look, I had wishlisted it to begin with because I was very interested, but now I'm definitely looking for. I probably will be using exploration mode. I'll be honest,
it's
but
okay.
it's great to see that you can still, and I love. I've always been saying as well that games, whenever possible, in my opinion, should try to have different kind of accessibility options
Sure,
because there are other gamers as well. Maybe they have disabilities and they can't play action games or don't like action games, but they're still interested in the games. So for me, I think having more accessibility options, the better. So thank you for that. Thank you for including that option.
it's
Are
okay.
you involved in this game, Tom, as well, or is
I
this an
am
Adam
now,
venture?
sure. So Adam brought it to me nearly fully formed and said, I accidentally made a game. Should we, what should we do? And, I saw Adam's screenshots of it on Twitter before he ever showed it to me in person. And it always looked fantastic. And then it grew into this thing that was, worth looking at being a full SFP release. I think Adam was originally thinking he might put it up on his own itch.io page at
Sure.
most, but it definitely feels like something that's worth going after properly and putting out on consoles and on Steam and doing all that kind of work. And that is traditionally stuff that I handle. Sort of doing storefront stuff, doing making a game work on PlayStation, making it work on Steam with achievements and trophies and that sort of technical work. So I've come on in the last couple of months and started doing that, which is how we managed to get a demo out on PlayStation
Yes.
Yeah, I just
just
saw
before
that.
Halloween last year, PS5, which is fantastic. It's our first PS5 game. Tangle Tower came out on PS4 and therefore is playable on PS5, but this will be our first PS5 game. And
Hmm.
PlayStation have been lovely and featured the demo for a while on their storefront, which was fantastic. Yeah, so I'm now on board, and Adam's sort of handing it over to me to do the releasey stuff. Um, some localization
You've
fun
also done
happening
all
this
kinds of
week.
optimization work.
Right,
So much tech work has happened to make it like feasible where it really
right,
wasn't
right.
before.
There was that moment where Adam handed over the project, and it was running. It was running
Not great.
okay, and I opened up the scene and just sort of tutted and shook my head and did a couple of days work and we got it working, I think, quite nicely already. But there's
Yeah.
still some more of that work to be done. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, genuinely very impressed as Adam's first full-size game by himself largely. He did all the programming or the
So if
art or
anyone's
the
curious about
animation,
this, we
everything.
make the game in Unity, and I effectively programmed the game myself up to a point with a plugin called Playmaker, which is a visual scripting tool. So I programmed the game without writing any raw code. Instead, it's visual scripting. So it's a kind of drag and drop boxes and nodes kind of situation. There's a bunch of things like this available. Playmaker is the one I use. And it's generally, use it for prototyping and all kinds of things because it's quick and easy. But I got good enough with it that I was able to make an entire game. And I'm not a programmer. I'm not a coder. I'm an artist and designer. So if anyone out there is looking to kind of make games in Unity and they're not super hot on writing code, then I would suggest learning a visual scripting tool because it's very liberating for someone like me who's not really so tech and code smart.
No, that's great for me to hear because I'm not good at code either. Um, but no, that's fantastic. And I see on your Steam page it has already appeared in several magazines throughout
That's right.
country. So there is clearly interest, and I think yes, that I have a feeling that people will be interested in this.